Welcome to Inner Light with Saima. Tonight we are joined by our amazing guest Katharine Giovanni, award-winning author, international speaker, and transformation mentor. She's here to unravel one of life's most powerful yet misunderstood practices, forgiveness. We are told to just forgive, but few ever explain the how. Catherine is not only teaches it, she lives it, helping people release guilt, shame, and old wounds to step into freedom. So, Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to have you here, Catherine. So, Catherine, as you say that forgiveness isn't just a decision, but a skill we can learn. So, I'm really curious to know from you that how do you begin teaching someone who feels forgiveness is impossible?
Well, the first thing is indeed, everybody tells us we need to forgive. Everybody. You learn it in school, you learn it, everybody. Nobody teaches you how. And then what if you don't want to? What if the person was unforgivable? Then what do you do? And the reason people don't want to forgive because it's on a 10 scale, with 10 being an unforgivable, horrific event, and 1 being the easiest person in the world. Every single solitary person listening to your podcast right now is thinking of their number 10 person. And that's fair. And that's why nobody wants to forgive, because they're thinking of that one person on the planet that probably doesn't deserve it.
Hmm? Absolutely, yes. I love how you frame forgiveness, as a skill rather than a one time choice. That really takes the pressure off for someone listening who feels stuck in resentment or hurt. Like what might that very first small step look like in practice?
Well, the first thing is to understand some principles that might be new to some people. We've been taught some things that are quite frankly wrong. First of all, just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. I probably don't.
Hmm.
Forgiveness is selfish. And just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm all of a sudden giving in and telling you you're right and I'm wrong. All of a sudden, I'm giving you a pass. Forgiveness means simply the formal definition for me is I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I want you out of my head so I can live my life again. And the person you're forgiving probably isn't even thinking twice about you. They're going out to dinner, they're conducting their life, and you're the one sitting in your house eating a pint of ice cream and, sobbing into a tissue. You're forgiving for you because you're the prisoner. Buddha said it really, really, really well. It's a quote that I use quite frequently. Buddha said that anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. I love
That
that quote.
that makes sense.
So, right? So, my forgiveness system is I'm going to give you, and I'll give it to you right now. We'll talk about the entire step by step system, but it's a step by step system that's going to allow you to work through your forgiveness. And I'm also the only one on the planet that's going to tell you you don't have to forgive the unforgivable. Why? Because there's a lot of people, places, and things. I did say places and things, don't click off, that you can forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire. And we can talk about that too if you like.
Yeah, beautifully said. It really takes a weight off, needing to get it right all at once. And I would love to hear from you the steps.
Sure. The first thing I want people to do is I want them to find a quiet spot and I want their technology off. I understand some of you are twitching at the thought of turning your cell phones off. I get that. But I really want you alone for a few minutes. And then I want you to get a pad of paper and a pen or your laptop. I really don't care. And I want you to write a list of all the people you think you need to forgive. Now, the first 3 to 5 are gonna be the unforgivable, the people that come right to your mind, the people you're thinking about right now as you're listening to me. Those are gonna be the names you write down first. That's fine. Everybody does. I did too when I did my own exercise. But I want you to keep going. I want you to write everybody down. I want you to write down the people that you think you need to forgive from when you were 5 years old and when you were a teenager. I want you to, or that office mate who you worked next to in the cubicle, I want you to write everybody down. Don't judge the list. If you write a name down and you don't remember that name and you just write the name down, don't judge it. Obviously, some part of your brain is mad at that person. Just write it down.
Mm.
And then I want you to take that list and I want you to rate them from 1 to 10. 10 being horrific, awful, unforgivable, 1 being super easy. Now, you could have 10 number 5s. I don't care. You could skip a number. I also don't care. But what I do care about is you start with the easy ones, the ones you labeled a 1, and work your way up the list. Okay? Now, the part of this system that everybody misses is when you forgive, and some people come up to me and they say, I did forgive, I did the work, but they don't stay forgiven. I keep getting triggered. Why? Okay, because you didn't forgive the energy. Science has proven that everything on our planet has an energy field around it, including the microphone I'm speaking into right now. And the reason these people aren't staying forgiven is because you didn't forgive the energy around them and the energy around yourself. That energy is what's tying you energetically to the one person on the planet you don't want to be tied to. So, with that being said, I want you to put your hand in your heart because the words it's really just a reminder for you to speak from your heart. That's really all it is. And then I want you and all the mantra and all sorts of worksheets are in my book, but I want you to say, I completely forgive Martha, shall we say. I forgive the energy around Martha. I completely forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I completely forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Amen. Go with God. End it any way you like. Now I want you to check in with your body. Are you still
Mm.
angry? Or is that number 1 person, is it clear? Clear? Great. Cross their name off. Go to the next person on the list. Was it a number 3 person? And you check in, you're like, I'm still kind of mad. Okay, cross the 3 off, put a 2 there, wait 24 hours, do it again. And this happened to a friend of mine, and we were together at the time, and I watched her do it. It was a level 4 or 5 person, I really don't remember. And she made that one pass, just said that the mantra one time. And I said, okay, now check in with your body. And she said, I'm mad. I'm pissed. And I looked at her because it was the first time it had ever happened. This was a number of years ago. And she said, I'm really mad. It's a 10 now. Okay, what happened? It went the wrong way. Well, your brain is a beautiful instrument and it protects you. And there's a closet in the back of your head that's padlocked. It's been padlocked for decades. And there's a movie playing in that closet that you turn off if you knew it was there, but you didn't know it was there. And what you did is you just said the magic words, and your brain said, oh, well, Katharine is ready for all of these memories. So the closet opened and it flooded her with memories that she didn't know were there. That's the thing about forgiveness. It's an onion and there's layers to it. And as you forgive the layers, eventually you get to the center of that onion. You can't forgive a number 10 person in one shot and think you're going to get it down to a 1. Not going to happen. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But you might get that number 10 down to a 9, down to an 8, and incrementally be able to get it down. That's the basis of the system.
Mm-hmm. You have laid that out so clearly, Catherine. And I love the simplicity of, placing your hand on your heart because it brings forgiveness out of just being a concept in our minds and makes it something we can actually feel in our bodies. It's like such a gentle practice, almost like giving ourselves permission to pause and acknowledge both the hurt and the possibility of healing at the same time. And I think that kind of, tangible step makes forgiveness feel less overwhelming and more like an act of self kindness, something like listeners can return to whenever those old feelings resurface. It really turns forgiveness into a daily practice rather than a one time event, and that feels incredibly freeing and humanizing, I must say.
It is because, you get these people who will say they don't deserve my forgiveness. No, they don't. Absolutely, they don't deserve your forgiveness. But do you wanna carry that around with you? It's like carrying around old luggage. And by forgiving them, I'm not saying that they still don't deserve my forgiveness. They don't. They probably have to make amends and they gotta do stuff. That's not my circus. That's not my monkeys. That's theirs. That's their problem. Forgiveness frees you. It has nothing to do with them. They're still wrong. They still don't deserve it. You're forgiving for you so you can open up your world. You can see things again. The reason you're probably stuck in bad relationships or a bad job, or you feel like you're hitting a wall and you've tried all these different things is because you're probably carrying around all this old energy and you didn't even realize it. And as you forgive the ones, the twos, and the threes, your world's going to go open up. You're going to start to see things differently. You're probably going to see that money making opportunity. Why didn't you see it before? Because you were so focused on the anger, you couldn't see anything else. And even if you could stuff that anger in the corner of your mind and pretend you're a normal person for a little while, it's still going to come back. And by
Mhm.
forgiving the easy ones, you're kind of freeing up your mind. Now for the science people in the room who were fighting me on this, there was a study done by a guy named Masumoto. It's a Japanese water study. And in the interest of time, I'll just say it really fast. He took several containers of water. One container of water, all he did was speak beautiful words to it. The other container of water, all he did was speak hate, like these awful words to it. He then froze the water and put it under a microscope. The pictures are right online. They're brilliant. The water he froze that he spoke love to had these gorgeous formations. They're really beautiful pictures. The water he spoke hate to had these black, sick looking malformations. Why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So when your self talk is back, when you're holding on to anger and resentment and bitterness, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your own body?
Mm.
That's kind of a mic drop moment, isn't it?
Like, as you said, Catherine, that's a beautiful and practical prescription for anyone, who's struggling with forgiveness.
Anybody and the person that anybody's struggling with forgiveness, but the biggest person to forgive is yourself. And your name will probably go on your own list. So, how do you forgive the unforgivable? They're a bear. You're not going to get, a level 10 person down to a 1 overnight. So, what we'll use one of my own memories. One of my own number 10s was a bully in school. I was terribly bullied in school and tried to commit suicide when I was a kid because of it. So, I wasn't ready to forgive the bully. 'Cause it wasn't. And quite frankly, between you and me, I didn't even wanna forgive the energy around the bully. I didn't. I didn't want to. So what I did is I picked apart the memory. So and I'm really serious. I decided to forgive the building where my school was and the energy around the building. I forgave my desk, the table, the chair, the teacher, the classroom, and the energy around all these things. I forgave the playground, the energy around the playground. I'm serious. I forgave the kids that stood around and didn't help me and the energy around these kids. I forgave New York City because that's where I was at the time, and the energy around New York City. Now I'm gonna really date myself. I forgave 1974. There it is. Why? Because that's the year this all came to a head. That's the year I tried to commit suicide, and I forgave the energy around 1974, and then I checked in with my body. Was that number 10 kid down to a 9? Eh, maybe, but I had lightened it. And I was ready to maybe tackle forgiving the energy around the person and not the person themselves. And that's what I'm
Mhm.
talking about. If you can never forgive the actual person, that's fine. Forgive what you can in the memory and keep going. And if you could circle back someday and forgive the actual person, God bless you. Not everybody can. Some Some unforgivable acts are just that, completely unforgivable. But you can forgive yourself, you can forgive the energy, and you can forgive the objects in that memory. And that will free you up so you can live your life again and you can start to breathe.
Mm, that takes a tremendous amount of courage, honestly, Catherine. And I can like imagine how painful that experience must have been for you. And it's incredibly moving at the same time to hear how you were, able to not only survive but also find forgiveness, like for the child who hurt you and even for the place where it happened. That really shows the depth of your strength and the kind of compassion you're cultivated with. I think hearing that will give so much hope to the listeners who may be carrying, their own wounds, and to know that forgiveness can be possible even in the darkest circumstances. That takes a lot of
Yeah.
strength.
Well, let's say you're mad at your mom or your dad. Usually, a lot of people's number 10s, in my experience, because I've talked to a lot of people about this, it's family will really mess you up, right? It might be your office
Mm,
worker or your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend or ex-husband or something like that. But family, they really mess you up. And, you carry this stuff through the years. I'm
mm,
64. And when I was forgiving this stuff, I was in my 50s. And I sat at my desk thinking, it's completely ridiculous that a 50-something-year-old woman is angry at something that happened in the 70s. This is ridiculous. I'm an adult. I should be able to move beyond this. Yet I wasn't. It was in my everyday life. I was telling the stories. And that's scary. You tell
mm,
these stories, it becomes a badge of courage and a badge of honor. Look at me. Look what I've survived. I've survived suicide. I'm also been sober for 33 years. I've survived all these things. And if I lose that story, who am I? But here's the thing. By forgiving all of these things and removing the anger from your life, you're finally going to be the person you came to this planet to be. You'll finally be able to be your authentic self. You'll finally be able to be that person who you actually were meant to be all along before you got sidetracked from all this anger.
mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. That strikes a deep chord. Now, you have walked countless people through this path. So, do you find that forgiveness always brings healing, or there are times when it feels incomplete?
It depends what you're forgiving. For some people on your list, you're going to find complete healing. Now, how do you know you've forgiven the person?
Mhm.
When you've forgiven the person when you don't care. And I genuinely mean that. When you could look at their name or you go to a party and you see them across the side of on the other side of the room and you don't care. You don't care good, you don't care bad. You literally don't care. That's neutrality. That's forgiveness. Now, there's another saying that people bandy around that's wrong: forgive and forget. Hmm, okay, let's talk about that one. I'm originally from New York City, and I guarantee you, with every fiber of my being, we don't forget anything. It's not in our DNA. So we're not going to forget it. But what I can promise you is you're going to remember different things. In other words, I haven't forgotten the bully. But because I've completely forgiven, I can't really come up with the stories anymore. I probably could if you could probably pull them out of me if you really wanted to. I probably could remember some of them, but I really don't anymore because now I remember the love that was around that kid who were trying to help the young Catherine. I remember the people who were trying to help me. I remember the love in my life. I remember the laughter. I don't remember the bad as much anymore. So you're going to look at your past differently. Well, Catherine, I don't want to go back to my past. It was awful. I understand that. Mine was too. But I'm only asking you to go back a few more times and pull apart some of those memories so you can be free. There's always some good you remember from your past. One person who gave you a helping hand or a tea helped you. There's always some love back there, always, that you can kind of hold on to. And that's what you're going to remember moving forward. But do start with the easy ones and work your way up, please, please, please. And A little health PSA, please don't do more than 5 or 10 a night, and if you're doing somebody that's a level 8, 9, or a 10, only do 1 a night because 'cause you're gonna make yourself sick. Do as I say, not as I did. I am my own guinea pig. I did this exercise,
Mm-hmm.
and I am an overachiever. I've written 16 books, so shocker on that one, right? And I sat down and I must have had 50 people on my list. I swear, at least 50. And I thought, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm gonna be like a butterfly spreading its wings. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning and I'm gonna be all better. Okay. It didn't work out the way I wanted to because the universe has a very healthy sense of humor. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, I forgave many people on the list. I did. But I also spent the next 3 days in bed, what everybody thought, to be politely put, was the stomach flu. Why? Remember those water cells I was talking about? Well, when you forgive, you're literally shifting those cells and you're turning them into light filled cells. Well, the dark ones have to go someplace, don't they? And your body needs to toss it. Your body needs to clear itself. The reason I want you to do this before bed is because science has proven that our bodies heal itself when we're sleeping. So I want you to do it 5 to 10 before you go to bed or after dinner. You don't have to do it right before you go to bed, but do it sometime, within a few hours of you going to bed. Because what's going to probably happen is most people, 8 out of 10 people, get really tired when they do this work because your body wants to sleep to fix itself. Some of us, like yours truly, might spend a little time in the bathroom. It doesn't mean you ate a piece of bad fish. It's okay. It just means your body is literally tossing some very, very ancient, dark energy that it needed to get rid of. Look at it as a weight loss opportunity.
That's like a beautiful way of looking at it, Catherine. Like you said, going back and choosing to remember the good memories, it really shifts the focus from the hurt to something that can actually restore a sense of peace. And I think that makes forgiveness feel, less like letting someone off the hook and more like reclaiming your own heart. I feel that way. And the way you describe it gives people a gentle and obviously practical way to hold both the pain and the humanity of the person who caused it. And that's such a
Yeah.
powerful invitation to healing.
Now, another few other things that might happen when you're doing this process, just because I like to give the good stuff, but I'm also gonna give you the here's what's really gonna happen kind of stuff. You might get family members who look at you and say, "Well, I don't remember that person that way. I think you're crazy. Why? Well, there's nothing to forgive." Okay, with all due respect, I don't care about that family member. I care about you. And if you remember it, that's all I care about. Put it on your list and you forgive for you. You're in the privacy of your own home. Nobody has to know you're forgiving anybody. This is not like a recovery program like in Alcoholics Anonymous where they want you to reach out and make amends with people. Not unless you want to. You don't have to make amends. You do it in the privacy of your own home. And that means because you're not calling anybody and you're doing it private, it means you can forgive dead people. And I mean that because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. You're doing it for you. And if they're alive and well and living in your mind, then it can be forgiven. And remember, you can forgive anything. You can forgive politics. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. You can forgive neighbors, towns. You can forgive anything. If it triggers you, you can forgive it. What's it going to do for the other person or situation? Not a darn thing, but it's to do wonders for you. And certain things are going to happen to you. Jim Rohn has a very powerful quote. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That changed my life, that quote. So who are you spending time with? As you forgive, you're going to change. You're going to start being more light filled. You're going to start looking at the world differently. So some people, like a moth to a light, are going to be attracted, and you're going to be attracting light minded people into your life. Brilliant. That's what we want. Okay. But on the other side, you're also going to have some jackrabbits, people who don't want you to change. So they're just going to ghost you. They're just going to leave. I had a bunch of close friends leave my life and I've never heard from them again, which is weird. I still think it's weird. Then you have the people
Mm-hmm.
who are gonna might try and sabotage it. These are people you might be living with. And they're like, "You know, I don't want you to change. I like the broken you. I like the person who you are. So I'm gonna sabotage it to keep you grounded on my level." And that my answer to that is don't buy into that, stand your ground and do the forgiveness work because it's gonna make you feel better, and those
Mm-hmm.
people will either come with you or they won't.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree, Catherine, and I think your energy really brings that message to life. Like, this has been an illuminating conversation with you, Catherine. You reminded us that forgiveness is not passive, it's an act of courage, a reclaiming of our own power. And listeners, if today's discussion touched something in you, perhaps it's the right moment to ask, what or who do I need to forgive, starting with myself? So take that step, however small, and watch how light floods on where heaviness once lived. So until next time, keep choosing healing, keep choosing freedom, and